Τι θα έρθει. Ποιος είναι. Κάντε μεταξύ στο πάνω. So good evening. We have to start because we are now from the time. So some things change. The moderator is she is going to introduce himself. Anyway, I'm Evangelos Apostolakis. I'm ex-admiral, ex-minister of defense, in Greece, chief of armed forces, chief of the navy. So, as you understand, I have a background from the navy. And at the moment, I am a member of the parliament in Greece. And our topic is secure geopolitical connectivity, Europe, Middle East, pathways to share protection. But before we start, I would like to introduce my friend here, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here invited. I want to appreciate the efforts made by the organizers this year to cover a lot of topics, especially in nowadays complex circumstances we are witnessing all. So as a former first deputy director in charge with operation of a Romanian intelligence service, which is a country east border of NATO and EU, confronted with many challenges over the years, passing from a communist regime to a vibrant democracy. Now I'm an associate professor to National Intelligence Academy of Romanian Intelligence Service and associate professor to many other universities. And I'm trying to teach people about risk, vulnerabilities, threats, which we are in an era in which we are more confronted than ever with this kind of problems. So it could be interesting to have a discussions, to answer to some questions about the topic we are discussing now. Minister, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. So it's a privilege, and thank you for being here in front of you. And the topic is, as we said, the connectivity between Europe and Middle East. This is no longer primarily a question of opportunity or growth, but increasingly a question of security, resilience, and political responsibility. In a period marked by overlapping crises, regional instability, and strategic competition, the way we design and sustain connectivity has become inseparable from we manage risk stability and long-term cooperation. When we speak today about connectivity between Europe and the Middle East, we are no longer speaking mainly about infrastructures, projects, or transport corridors. We are addressing a structural transformation on the way security, stability, and economic interaction are understood in a fragmented international environment. For a long time, connectivity was treated as an almost self-evident good, where more routes, more networks, and deeper independencies were expected to translate automatically into stability. But recent experience has demonstrated the limits of this assumption. Connectivity does not automatically produce security. Under conditions of political stress, it can also transmit disruption and expose vulnerability. For this reason, connectivity must now be approached as a geopolitical issue, not merely as a technical or economic one. Transport routes, energy interconnections, and digital networks have become part of the security in architecture itself. Their resilience depends not only on engineering standards or financing, but on political sustainability, institutional coordination, and shared responsibility among the actors involved. Within this context, the discussion surrounding the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, the IMEC, is particularly revealing, which should not be understanding as a single project awaiting implementation decisions. It is better understood as a strategic framework that reflects a broader reassessment of how states think about routes, depending, and risk. IMEC brings together concrete dimensions of connectivity, land and maritime transport, energy networks, and digital infrastructures. Its strategic significance does not lie in the promises of speed or volume. It is less than the diversification. That shift has direct geopolitical consequences. Connectivity today is no longer neutral because it affects who becomes central, who remains peripheral, and how economic and political weight is distributed. And this is not an unintended outcome. It is the natural result of connectivity, growth, strategic value, and the real challenge is to manage competition with established frameworks. The environment in which these discussions take place has changed in the long over the past year. Before the war in Gaza, connectivity initiatives in the Eastern Mediterranean, in the East and in the Middle East were often discussed primarily in terms of planning and long-term potential. But since then, the focus has shifted towards to political viability. Of course, such things does not diminish the relevance of initiatives such as the IMEC, but on the contrary, it sharpens their meeting because they now function as an indicator of political endurances. They force us to confront practical questions. Can cooperation be sustained when political alignments weaken? Can technical coordination survive periods of tension? And who assumes the responsibility for keeping essential networks operational when conditions deteriorate? At this point, it is important to clarify when we mean by secure connectivity. Securely is not in this context should not be understood narrowly in military terms, as it is not only about protecting infrastructure. It is about political sustainability, the ability of systems and networks to function even when trust is limited and disagreement persists. The European Union can bring together experience to this challenge and frameworks such as the Global Gateway and the Pact for the Mediterranean can provide the regulatory, legal, and institutional environment within which such initiatives can help to remain viable over time, even under pressure. Europe's role here is not primarily financial. It is more normative and institutional. Energy and digital connectivity illustrates this clearly. Energy diversification reduces structural dependencies and limits exposure to sudden disruption in digital networks, and the cybersecurity frameworks raise the most of interference and discourage instrumentation. Connectivity also produces a quieter but important political effect. It does not resolve conflicts, not should it be expected to, but might create constraints of instability. In regions where is limited trust, this logic often provides more durable than ambitious political designs. The main risk facing Europe Middle East connectivity today is therefore not confrontation, but fragmentation of priority standards and political commitment corridors, rarely that fail because of a single dramatic event, but it is possible to fail when coordination, weakness, and responsibility becomes difficult or diffuse. For Greece, this disruption is not theoretical because traditionally firmly roots in the Eastern Mediterranean, and we experience daily how connectivity, security, and regional stability functions. In practice, and for this reason, it's more important to be seen not as a transient space, but as an establishing link between regions whose security and prosperity are increasingly interconnected. This leads to the clear conclusion that initiatives such as IMEC are not solutions in themselves, but must be seen as an instrument whose effectiveness depends on how well they were embedded with broader political and institutional frameworks. They will be judged not by announcements or declarations, but by their ability to remain functional when geopolitical corridors deteriorate. Secure geopolitical connectivity cannot simply be declared, must be sustained through political responsibility, institutional discipline, and a realistic understanding of risks. So this is not only a challenge for Europe and the Middle East, but also an opportunity in order to transform connectivity from a source of expose into a pillar of shared stability. So this is the situation, and we can continue our discussion. I don't know how
long we have.
Mr.
Apostolakis, thank you very much. He covers a lot of things what you already want to say. So that's very difficult always to be a last speaker because you have to redesign your speech. But anyway, it's a pleasure to hear very interesting presentation about the topic of our discussion. I want to refer a little bit from the perspective of the intelligence and security services, the nowadays situation, and also related to the topics, of course. We are facing a turning point now. We are assisting to a rupture, to a disruption of the old order in which old good days are gone and new days we are facing with the brutal realities we have to deal with. So this creates a big level of uncertainties which are of course correlated with problems like concerns as a precondition of vulnerabilities, risks, and why not threats. Great powers are not feel constrained by almost anything to do whatever they want. So the big question is what we should do in nowadays circumstances. And this is a million answer for this kind of question. So, $1 million question, exactly. So what I can say that it's one institutions deal with this kind of problems, complex problems. They even like this kind of complex problem. They are security and intelligence services. From my perspective, they will play a major role in the short term, in the future, about what's going on. They will be part in the process, in the decisions makers' views. Despite of good leadership, despite of good diplomacy, security will play a major role to create good, smart decision. States they are obliged, in fact, for a smart approach in this very complex situation. in which, by the way, connectivity as a precondition of a reliable partnership will play a major role. With whom to connect, how to maintain this connectivity, how to protect and enforce, this is also part of security business. So, very complex situation in which we have to deal with. Romania, as the east border of NATO and EU, faced a lot of challenges over the years related with our big neighbors, Russia, and we were obliged to find ways to connect with the partners in the region. And not only, play a major role also during the history in connecting Palestinians in the Mid-East peace process with other partners. So over the years it was proven that there always are solutions there. Of course, that requires good services or smart and good leaders to fully understand and to take actions. Because this is the problem, how to turn good leadership, diplomacy, intelligence services into the tangible, positive actions. So here we are. Of course, we, related with the topic, we as each country in the area of Mediterranean Sea should act properly because we are directly affected by the situations there. We are linked, as the Minister says, corridors, hub energy corridors, hub transportation, maritime routes, to different digital hubs. So all of these are part of the critical infrastructure. Services are in their mission, part of their mission to protect this critical infrastructure. And they should do this proactively in the sense of preventing things rather than deal with. But they should be prepared to deal with the crisis, not only to prevent things. So what that means exactly in the democratical terms? They need to redesign their missions. The leaders, the parliaments, should give them new missions with new possibility of controlling them accordingly to these new missions. So you need tasks not for a medium long term, because that's not doable anymore, because things are changing so fast. You need something on the short term to be very adaptable at the current situation in order to provide to the policymakers a good insights to take a smart decisions. Of course, every country should do by its own this, at least in the European system, because until now, under the provision of Lisbon Treaty, the services is under the national security, under the national capability, not under the EU. So probably even in this field, things might change in a short future. But anyway, EU play a major role related with the topic. As it was mentioned here, EU initiative like Gateway Global, like Pact Mediterranean Pact, these really play a major role because EU was proven to be a stabilized actor in the region. They accept to dialogue with other countries from the Middle East, even where disagreement exists. So, and they might generate foundings, know-how, expertise, and sustainability. So EU really can play a major role, and the fact that we are part of the EU, that's very important about the region and about the topic we are talking today. So a lot of things might be said about security issues, but in very short, that's what was my idea to say today in the front of this audience. Thank you very much, and any questions are more than welcome, because this kind of aspects generates always debates. What we can do more and better with the services, how much power we give them, how much we can control them, and so on. Thank you.
It is.
So please, somebody is already raising hands.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion about democratizing access to AI or science research and development. I wonder how more, or also data collection from the people. So how can the people be partners with governments in common security and shared protection? Do you have ideas how this can be more democratized in a way to tap into more resources of the people?
First of all, excuse me,
Yeah, go.
you have the floor first, if you want.
Yeah, I think this is an option that someone who wants to create or to start doing this connectivity needs to be in contact with probably companies or people who are related and are professionals on this project, because this is not a job of one person or one nation. It's something that the AI is going to play a minor role on that, as we have seen here. Here, the most of the discussions we have so far are around an AI, and this is out of the question. That is very, very is useful. So if you say that democratizing or not, it's something we have to see the way how it's going to be done. But this is the way.
Well, but the public has a major role in all of these changes. First of all, business circles really play a major role in the discussion with the state about the possibility to do their business. But also NGOs related with the law. When the parliaments really have debates about the role of services or the role of the new laws, NGOs play a major role. So they always came for it. Media, no doubt that media might raise some concerns and might have express the public voice. So there are a lot of possibilities to interact with the public voice. Thank you for the question.
The media creates the role and holds the ambitions. So the media is very, very important, because probably any innovation starts and distributed through the media. But the AI is the key at the moment. And the NGOs who are related with this are very, very useful on propose such a solutions on this. Anyway, please.
A question that I have, as someone who's currently in the AI industry, has been thinking about building AI for defense and in the geopolitics realm in general, what international partners do you think are worthy collaborating with? Because we're seeing, for instance, NATO seems to be on the brink of destruction if Donald Trump goes through with, for instance, invading Greenland. On the other hand, the EU itself isn't really willing to take a strong position on protecting its own sovereignty and safety. How do you think in the region can we move forward, and what kind of international partnerships and collaborations can we use as the bulwark of this type of connectivity that you're talking about, and can be at the forefront of this type of technology as well?
Okay, I think what somebody has in his mind to do, or when they plan something, they go around and ask who is capable or who is interesting to approach and to provide his ideas. I think in all the aspects, this is the way. Otherwise, the connectivity is not. There is no way to be done. So, like all the cooperations and like all the projects that is on the way to produce something, there is one process on that, and probably I guess that this is the way. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. These specific questions, it was covered in a topic yesterday, I think, about the AI and the impact, how they should be seen. Sorry, the time.
Others want to come in, sorry.
Exactly.
Everyone has to go out, all of us.
Thank you very much. It was a real pleasure. Looking forward to see you again. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being present.